Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about my plans for 2026. So I have a few books that I already kind of mapped out in terms of timing. So I know when I want to read them, like in the fall or in the summer. And then I have these other books that I definitely want to get to, but I don't know when I'll have time to read them. So we're going to start with The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe. I'm actually reading this now for January. I decided to kick off the year with this one. This is like an 18th century Gothic romance novel, and I'm really enjoying this. It has amazing descriptions of nature. The first part of the book is in France, and then they travel to Italy, so it has descriptions of the cypress trees and the lemon groves and the mountains. It's just pretty breathtaking in terms of the descriptions. Then it has some Gothic elements as well. So there's an old, almost abandoned castle, and people are talking about how the castle may be haunted, and there's a secret portrait, and there's a secret passageway. So I'm really enjoying sort of the mix of the romantic aspect and the nature aspect along with the Gothic. So this is going to be my main book for January. Now in February, I have high ambitions because I want to read The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. This is the story of three brothers, and apparently one of them is accused of murder. I've heard lots of different things about this book, but I think what made me want to pick it up is somebody said it's a page turner, and I thought, okay, maybe maybe despite its size and the fact that it's Dostoevsky, which is always a bit of a challenge, I'll give it a try. So far I've read The Idiot and Crime and Punishment. So I still have a couple more to read after this, but this is almost like a rite of passage for the bookish community. So we'll see what happens with this. I'll keep you guys posted. So then I have a few books that I'm planning to read for certain months, like these two, for example, Valentino and Sagittarius by Natalia Ginzburg. She's an Italian author that's become a favorite of mine. She just describes these mundane situations, and it's almost like it breaks your heart, but in a very matter-of-fact way. It's like her unique style. I really like her writing. So this is actually two different stories, Valentino and Sagittarius, that I'm planning to read for September. And this is an NYRB book, which I love that edition. And the other one I'm also planning to read in September is this one, Daniel Deronda by George Eliot. So George Eliot, of course, is one of my favorite writers. So far I've read Middlemarch, Silas Marner, The Mill on the Floss, Adam Bede. Love them all. So I'm going to continue my discovery of George Eliot with Daniel Deronda. Then for the month of October, because it's going to be like fall vibes, etc., I've already picked out two books I want to read. So one of them is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now, I already read Jane Eyre as a teenager, so this is going to be a reread, but I think that I may actually appreciate it more this time around. And I got this really interesting edition, and it has the sprayed edges, which I really like. And then I also have Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. So the one I read this past year was Rebecca, which I absolutely loved. So the idea is to read Jamaica Inn this year, and then maybe if I can find some other ones, I want to read The Scapegoat, and I think I want to read The House on the Strand. So that might be for next year. Now I have a few more I want to show you. A couple of them are just books by women authors that I really love. So we have Mr. Fox by Barbara Cummins. I read The Juniper Tree this year, and I have to say she's an excellent storyteller. That book was something else. It didn't make it to the top 10 because there were some elements in it that I'm not able to tell you because I don't want to give you any spoilers, but suffice it to say there were elements in it that were a bit disturbing, so I decided to leave it out. But she is an excellent writer, so I want to read more by her. So I'm going to start with this one, and then in the future I probably want to read The Vet's Daughter as well. Then I got this used copy of Palladian by Elizabeth Taylor. So Elizabeth Taylor is a writer that I discovered I think about a year ago with her book A View of the Harbor. And then this year, one of my top 10 reads was Mrs. Palfrey at the Claremont. Really liked that one. And so I wasn't sure what to read next by her, but I saw a couple of people really liked Palladian. So that's what I plan to read this year. Not sure when though, but I'll get it in there somehow. And then a couple more. I have here a play by August Wilson. It's called Joe Turner's Come and Gone. So August Wilson, you may have heard of him because he made a play called Fences, which turned into a movie with Viola Davis and Denzel Washington. But August Wilson was a brilliant playwright, and he wrote all these different plays. It was like a project for decades of the 20th century. So he wrote a play that's set in the first decade of the 20th century, and then another play that's set in the second decade, and it keeps going. So I decided to just follow along all the decades. So I started with Gem of the Ocean that I read a couple years ago, and I actually went to see the play, which was amazing. And so now I'm going to keep going with this one. So not sure when I'll be reading this, but I definitely want to read it this year. And then another book that I plan to read this year is Theft by Abdulrazak Gurnah. This is a book that takes place in Tanzania, and it was written by a Nobel Prize winner. So I started reading the first chapter, and it's about this girl whose father basically forces her to marry an older man. It seems to be one of those stories that just pulls you right in from the beginning. So I'm looking forward to this one. So as you can see, I have a lot of books that I'm planning to read, and hopefully I can squeeze in some more books. So let me know what your reading plans are for this year. Till next time, happy reading!